What's up?
What's up?
I have no idea what you and Katie were discussing, but man, it seemed great.
So here's what happened.
Uh huh.
Somebody, I'm not going to mention any names, somebody used a credit card to pay for something
Hmm.
that was an essential. And then I gave her some money to pay on that credit card. And I did not realize that when you pay someone in Venmo, they take $2 off the top if you select goods and services.
Huh. Interesting.
See, you didn't know. See, he didn't know either. So,
But he can read, right, Mike?
I
He can
can. I
read.
can. I can.
Michael says he can read. Yes, I can read as well.
You just choose not to.
Oh man, that's great.
All
And
right.
for Chicago said Leroy is
Kim
a
from
grown
Chicago,
man.
Owen may make a cameo. He is doing something over there. I don't know what. Uh, he may make a cameo. How y'all doing, Michael? How are you
I don't know
doing?
how chat's doing. I'm doing all right, man.
All right.
For those that are new to us, we are the We Tryin' channel. You may also see us on the News 19 Nerds channel. People that have been with us for the years know that we both work at news stations.
Hmm.
And if you
For
don't know, we
now,
live on the south. We live in the southeast. So we were dealing with Hurricane Ian for the
Ian.
past few
Yep.
days,
Correct.
um, and it's kind of a weird thing dealing with breaking news and weather coverage because depending on how the hurricane moves will dictate what kind of coverage you use and
Hmm.
how hard you can go in on a particular story.
Yep. Because
Um,
if it hits directly where you are, you're
yeah,
in breaking news mode. But if it doesn't hit directly, then you're in. So, like for you in Charlotte, your coverage was totally different from the coverage we had in Columbia, and then our coverage in Columbia is totally different from the coverage in Charleston itself.
yeah, yeah. So it's always weird when you're like, okay, how much time do you devote to this during the show?
Hmm.
If you send all your resources to one thing and then the storm isn't as bad for you as you thought, now your
Or
show's
it
kind of,
turns. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, which is kind of, I think a lot of, I didn't realize we were going to have a weather discussion, but it's fun. Why not? I didn't realize, or at least for the meteorologists at my station, definitely thought last week the track was definitely different than what it actually ended up being.
Yeah.
Um,
And
it
for
definitely, we thought like it was going to hit Charlotte more, but it ended up going east. So it kind of went up towards Raleigh in that area and up to Virginia. So, yeah.
so we didn't think it was going to be. I believe management didn't realize it was going to be. Thought it was going to be worse than. I think they thought it wasn't going to be as bad, so they waited till the last minute to send people. And then as the track moved, and they realized, okay, this may be a little bit more. They decided to send people out the night before, so
Sure.
it changed how we covered things. And then as we realized, oh, it's not as bad, then the coverage turned from, oh my gosh, this is coming, be careful, to okay, it was a thunderstorm. Some people have lost power. Um, Here's where we are right now. So it was because my shift was 12 hours, and then I only had to do 9.5 to 10. So it wasn't totally that bad.
Sure.
But then like and do you remember when they sent a lot of people to us? I think it was it Maria? Was it Harvey? When they sent a lot of people to us and then it turned out to be nothing?
Oh, so you're not talking about the thousand year flood. You're talking about the thing
No.
like a
No,
couple years
remember
after.
a couple of years after that, everybody was freaked out because we had just had the flood in 2015. And then they
Right.
sent people to us because they thought it was going to be a massive, massive hurricane. And then it turned out to not hit us as bad. It hit Florida. God, pray for Florida. Um, it hit Puerto Rico, but we just got thunderstorms. We did not get what we thought we were going to get. And then, a matter of
Yeah.
fact, all the people who came to us had to be diverted to Florida because that's where it actually went.
Yeah. We ended up sending a director down to Florida to help out with
Yep.
that stuff.
Hmm.
But y'all don't care about the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, David Cooper, you're actually not that late. We're just talking about weather stuff and our
Yeah.
other jobs.
Yep.
But tonight what are we talking about?
So you brought up a very good topic that I thought was something we should devote time to that we talked about in passing.
Hmm.
Is Kevin Feige stretched too thin? And when will the drop off of quality for the MCU happen? Some people have already decided that it has happened because the movies are not scoring as well. They're not making as much money. Um, but it's one of those things where, hold on, that might be better. Okay, so you brought up a point of, is the MCU lost some of its luster? Kevin Feige losing the touch? I said no.
Hmm.
I am biased. I can admit that. But so let's go. Let's dive into the state of the MCU. Is it where it, again, Feige has a plan. I believe in Feige, but has it fallen off? And I'll give the floor
So
to you.
there are so many ways to go with this, right? When we were just
Hmm.
talking about this, I don't necessarily when I brought this up, this wasn't something that I was like, oh, I agree with this. I just saw this someone was like, oh, that's an
Hmm.
interesting idea to think about. So just like as a thought experiment, I'll say personally, I'm happy with where the MCU is going. But I think when I was in Vegas for NABJ, we did a press play, and they had just done San Diego Comic Con, laying out
Hmm.
the groundwork. Because before that, I was kind of like, what's happening? Because
Yeah.
again, the first three phases of the MCU seem to follow an easier to follow roadmap than where we are
Hmm.
now, and I knew more of that comic book lore, so it was easier for me to figure out where they're going. But with this, I wasn't really sure.
Hmm.
Kevin Feige laid it out where we're going, 4, 5, and 6, so we have a better idea of what things are doing. But I think it's interesting to think if Kevin Feige is stretched too thin. To me, it's not necessarily a question of whether the quality is there. It's just that there are so many projects now. It
Hmm.
it does see, and it's not, maybe it's not even diminishing returns, but there is a law of something of like, if you're working on one project and it's coming out in 2 months, you can devote 100% to it.
Hmm.
If you're working on two projects and one's coming out in 2 months, one's coming out in 3 months, I mean, you physically can't devote 100% to each one.
True.
I mean, just for time. So if we got to think
Logic,
just
logically,
just like
yeah.
logically, there are so many projects. It does seem to be like, how in the world can Kevin Feige have his hands in everything?
And to lend credence to your argument, it's also a matter of he had less to worry about in the past. So if you remember, Kevin Feige was just focused on the movies. He wasn't in charge of Disney animation. He wasn't in charge of Disney television shows, the MCU shows. I'm sorry, I said Disney, the MCU animation, and when it comes to What If, he wasn't in charge of integrating the MCU TV shows into the MCU. So he wasn't in charge of that. Was what Jeff Loeb's job was. Jeff Loeb was in charge of the TV side with Agents of Shield, Inhumans, Captain Agent Carter, and
The Netflix stuff.
the Netflix stuff. And some of it was hit or miss. I really enjoyed Daredevil. I thought Punisher was eh. Um, Personally, I like Luke Cage. I actually like the Defenders. A lot of people didn't, but but a lot of people didn't like the fact that none of that stuff tied directly into the MCU. And so when
Yeah.
Kevin Feige made his move, he basically took everything under his umbrella. He is the go-to person for it all. So you're right. It is, he may not be as, he has more on his plate. The question is, does he have the support staff to help him make this happen, given all the new responsibilities he has?
And when we talk about support staff, we're talking about like a lot of those EPs that you don't necessarily know. You may not
Hmm.
know their face, but you'll
Yeah.
definitely see their name probably right after you see Kevin Feige's name in the credits. Then you'll see whoever the
Hmm.
EP was for that kind of project. Like for me, and I don't know if you remember, I talked about buying like the 10-year anniversary of MCU. It was
Yep.
two books, an
Yeah.
anthology. It
Hmm.
was
It's on
it was
Amazon right
definitely,
now.
yeah. I'm sure I paid way more than what it is now, but
Hmm.
because bought it when it first came out. But it was definitely a puff piece about how great we are at MCU. But there was some interesting takeaways from it in terms of how they work on movies and like their idea of growing their own talent to kind of run different movies once they kind of work as a PA or something or a production assistant on a movie, then they become an EP for something. Like the name Nate Moore sticks out to me now more than ever because he's the EP for Black Panther. He's the EP for I would assume Wakanda Forever and another one for sure, but like Nate Moore, Victoria Alonso, and then who's the other big one that's under him? Uh, it's not Louis Leterrier because that's the guy who did like the first Now You See Me, but it's a name like that. I can't remember what it was.
I know,
Uh,
and see, here's a funny thing. He's a director, and I know that name because he's done other stuff.
right, right.
Hmm.
David Tashiro says I can help Feige from
Um,
home on my
I think
computer,
one
and I'm only asking $200 an hour. Nice.
that's actually pretty cheap if you think about it.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. You brought up a very good point about like we don't know these names because all we know is Feige because Feige's name is out there the most. And I likened it to being a head coach of a football team. Um, Here, so if any of you watch football or watch or into sports, especially football, you know you have your there are certain people who are considered the greats. Bill Belichick from the Patriots, Nick Saban from on college level for Alabama. And each of these people have assistants who have gone on who have helped them during their glory days to shepherd these teams to championships. Under the Bill Belichick coaching tree is Josh McDaniel, Mike Vrabel, Charlie Weiss. I want to say Romeo Cornell.
Pretty sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
Hold on, there's a ton of them. Brian Dayball. Uh, so there's a ton of people under him that the average fan doesn't know unless you're into football. Who these people are. Now, these people have left and gone on and have gotten jobs because of they worked under the foot at the master, Bill Belichick.
Hmm.
If you look at college football, when it comes to Nick Saban, you have certain people who are under him. Kirby Smart, who's now in charge of Georgia. So I liken it like that. That you don't, unless you're attention to this, you're not going to know that you would. Nate, what was the guy's name that you just mentioned? Um,
Nate Moore.
the first guy. You
Nate
just
Moore.
Nate Moore. So Nate Moore, you won't know that unless you're plugged into everybody under Feige's list. But this goes back to my credence that we know who these assistants are because it's sports, because sports diverts so much attention to the offensive coordinator who's working with Tom Brady under Bill Belichick. That was Josh McDaniel. Josh McDaniel had been a football coach before when he coached a guy by the name of, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Tim Tebow.
Hmm.
It was Josh McDaniel who won a playoff game with Tim Tebow. Now, subsequently, the wheels fell off and he got fired. And guess where he went back to? He went back to Bill Belichick. We know those names because every Sunday is devoted to football when football season's here. And every other
Hmm.
day that isn't Sunday is devoted to what's going to happen on Sunday. And I think people are asking these things because they're not as plugged in because A, they don't have that book, and there's no show that is devoted to explaining how Kevin Feige operates. So Hollywood is still a mystery to most people, to the average
Sure.
person. Nobody knows what an executive producer on a movie does or a television show. A lot of people don't even know what a showrunner does. That term just now became a part of our lexicon in the last 5 to 10 years. If you asked somebody 20 years ago what a showrunner was, they wouldn't know. Now you ask someone what a showrunner is, they have a kind of an idea. We don't know who these people are. And I think when those people leave, to me is when I will start worrying about has the quality dropped off? Because that's when you start realizing, oh, he doesn't have the same people. He's got to start grooming other people, like a Bill
Sure.
Belichick does when someone leaves his umbrella and then goes off. Now, some of these people make it. They make a name for themselves. Perfect example. Nick Saban has a ton of assistants who have left. And then Nick Saban also brings in people who have failed and then rehabilitates their career. Perfect example is Steve Sarkisian in Texas. Steve Sarkisian was the coach of University of Southern California. He was fired. He had a little bit of a alcohol problem that he talked about, and he got better. He went to Alabama, was an assistant, left Alabama. He's now the coach of Texas. Texas almost beat Alabama last week. Like, holy cow.
Was that
That's
last week or a couple weeks ago?
That was last week that Texas almost
Oh.
lost. But no, you're right. It was 2 weeks ago. So Now you have Kirby Smart, who was in Florida, not Florida, in Georgia, who was rumored to take the South Carolina job. Kirby Smart beat Nick Saban for the national championship, put Georgia back on the map. That's what's going on right now in the movie business, where Kevin Feige is Bill Belichick. He is literally the head dog of the movie business because he has done what no one else has done. In 10 years, he has created the longest serialized movie storyline in history. In American and Hollywood history. I'll say that because there might be another film franchise that's big in another country we have no idea about because we're ignorant about foreign films and other cultures. So that's when I'll start to worry because, in my opinion, I don't see the drop off
Sure.
in
I'm
quality.
laughing at IMAX. IMAX.
What did IMAX say?
Forgive me, I'm
lit
lit
right
myself right now. Like,
Hey,
okay,
man.
cool, IMAX.
Hey man, I'm doing just so everybody knows, I'm drinking. This is my anniversary wedding cup. So it says Katie and Leroy. This is when we got married. It has our wedding date. We changed the wedding date when these cups got moved after these cups got made. And I am drinking Touch of Crunch, which is a
Don't tell them what it is.
artisan.
They're not a
Well,
sponsor.
Well, I mean, I'm telling them because I want people to know.
You got to do like P Diddy.
Here's the thing: we're not on P Diddy's level yet, and I don't have my own beer line because if I did, I'd drink that religiously. But this is called Touch of Crunch, and every week we're going to drink. I'm gonna drink something new. Now,
I'm not.
I would like a sponsor for you, those people out there. You recommend a beer, and I'll drink it. I'll try it on the channel. But yeah, that's what I'm drinking right now. And the reason why I bought it is because it's supposed to taste like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And I'm not going to say it does, but it's not bad.
There we go. Fantastic. I love it.
But that's where I stand when it comes to the quality of the MCU. To me, the quality hasn't dropped. I agree that some of the movies are not as connected as we've seen in the past. But I will say this. Each MCU show has gotten better, in my opinion, in some aspect. Now, they may not all have hit the mark, but I would put up Winter Falcon is not as good as She-Hulk. And I'll say that. And I loved Winter Falcon.
I think one thing that I have enjoyed, there isn't a show that I haven't liked so far. I will say I don't know that any of the shows, the ending have stuck the landing yet, like some of the movies have. Like, I really enjoyed WandaVision, but the ending was kind of, I mean, it was fine, but I don't know that it stuck the landing. We talked about Winter Falcon, how much we love that show, Falcon Winter Soldier, whatever you want to call it. I think it was good. I don't know that the ending stuck the landing. I think they're kind of running into this thing about not.
I don't think so. I agree with you. I don't think it did.
To end these shows. So we'll see. I'm really enjoying She-Hulk. It is kind of what I expected. I mean, people say it's kind of like a superhero Ally McBeal, and I definitely see the similarities for sure. Yep. I'm fine with that. I'm curious.
Ally McBeal was a good show. Don't sell Ally McBeal short. That was a good show.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I am curious how with 2 episodes left. I feel like there's a lot of.
How can you stick this landing?
There's like a lot of material left that She-Hulk needs to cover.
Agreed.
We still don't know who the big bad is overall. We have an idea. There are rumors, but we don't know for sure. We still ain't seen Daredevil. I think people are going to be very upset with the Daredevil cameo because I feel like the Daredevil cameo is probably going to be an end teaser at the end of episode 9.
So Daredevil will be in episode. That was tweeted by somebody who worked on the show. I'm trying to remember who it was, but I saw, and that set the internet ablaze, the Twitter ablaze, because they were like, because everybody thought he was going to show up in this episode. And then when she said, oh, this is a self-contained wedding episode, everybody was like, wait, what? And then he didn't show up and apologize. And people were like, wait a minute. Like, everybody had that Kevin Hart face when he was like over the microphone stand. He was like, so I understand why people are upset. However, I love She-Hulk. She-Hulk is one of my favorite characters. If that woman is on a cover, I buy the cover. I'm not gonna lie. Like the physical aspect of a giant green woman with my last name is Green is appealing to me, and her book is pretty good too. So, I mean, that helps.
Yeah. I like this comment from Ken from Chicago. I'll highlight it for a second just so everybody can
Hmm.
kind of see it. Where are we at? Messages.
I see it. I got it.
There it is. I got it.
Okay.
Winter Falcon was majorly reworked away from its global biological weapon plot due to pandemic. That's a good
Hmm.
point. So
Yep.
we don't know exactly what would have happened because one thing I think is interesting,
Remember, Winter Falcon was
the
supposed to be
villains.
first.
You're right, right, and also I feel like the villains of Winter Falcon were kind of weak, but I
Hmm.
wonder if that's because their original goal was changed. So maybe they had to scramble to give them something new to do.
Not only
Um,
that, was it, how much of it was it changed, and how much was the power broker like, so you can tell something happened. Same thing with WandaVision. A lot of people don't realize the pandemic changed. It didn't just change the pandemic, irrevocably changed the world. And I don't think a lot of people understand what that means. We saw, so in other words, if you had an issue or problem, that was exacerbated by the pandemic. So if you worked at a job and you guys had some issues, let's take a business that had some issues before the pandemic, transportation and shipping. If you had a small problem before, imagine how big your problem was exposed when you were needed. So let's look at distribution. Um, we had a problem with truckers because we've done stories on this. The trucking industry is seeing a huge loss of employees because a lot of these guys are retiring and a lot of people are not going into these jobs, and businesses were pivoting to what? Driverless vehicles. They're investing a lot of money in that. The pandemic happened. We needed goods and services transported place to place, and then everybody was looking around. Oh shit, we don't have truckers. So let's apply that to the MCU. The MCU had a plot line with a villain and they had a biological weapon. The pandemic happened and it's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. Do you know another show that had that same problem?
Blood and Treasure.
24 had who?
Blood and Treasure. It's a show on CBS that nobody watches but me and my lady. But
Uh,
it was a show that's supposed to come out like two
okay.
years ago, and they paused it because
Hmm.
like the main plot for this season is essentially a biological weapon. They're like, oh, we probably shouldn't push
Uh,
this right now. So it's
oh,
interesting watching it now. It's on Paramount Plus.
I seen
But
that, yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
24 had a hijacking. The first episode was a hijacked plane, and they had to rework the entire first episode.
Mm,
Now the show went on to be a success. Um, a lot of people believe that that show is the ultimate success of why Barack Obama became president, because Dennis Haysbert was president. We saw him as a senator become a president because he was one of the most beloved characters on that show. Jack
mm,
Bauer spent his entire career working with I'm trying to remember what his name was on the show, to the point where Dennis Haysbert's brother became president. He was that well liked on the show. Now his wife was a total piece of work. But we're not gonna get into the lore of 24 right now because I could do that all day. But imagine the MCU having that. President Palmer, thank you, Ken from Chicago. Imagine the MCU having already these things in the can, working on them, and then it's like the pandemic happens. They can't release Winter Falcon first. So who do they go with first? WandaVision. WandaVision isn't done. We know that because we saw the end of it,
hmm
where characters just disappeared.
Sure.
So the MCU kind of started behind the eight ball because of the pandemic. Once the pandemic is over and we get a handle on it, let's see where these MCU shows are now. I'll take him. Okay, you want to bring them to me?
A lot of people are talking about in the chat about like maybe some failings from MCU. Somebody brought
Mhm.
up like the idea of Mephisto being in shows. You go ahead. I can talk for a little bit. The idea of Mephisto being in shows, or Fantastic Four expert coming in to the WandaVision show, and David Cooper brought up a lot of that stuff is fans are so smart and they devour this stuff so much. Sometimes they put stuff out there that the show was never confirmed was actually going to happen. Like the show never said Mephisto was going to be in anything. The show never said that this expert in WandaVision was going to be she was going to be a Fantastic Four person. And
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes shows and showrunners and whoever they have to walk that line between some people feel like they're owed, like, oh, this isn't where we're
Hmm.
going. But at
Hmm.
the same time, you kind of defeat the purpose of telling somebody you want somebody to watch the show and kind of be like, oh, what's going to happen? This is cool. So it's kind of because they've been so successful with doing inside jokes and Marvel Easter eggs. People are like, oh, everything they say is probably going to be some type of Marvel Easter egg. So it's tough to for them to find that balance. I think.
Well, I think it's tough to find that balance, and I think also fans. So here's the thing, and I think part of the problem is something that the MCU has done, and it's not just the MCU has done it. Other shows and movies have done this where they do homages or Easter eggs to other properties. So one of the most famous Easter eggs was in Predator 2, a skull in the Predator ship. You remember what that was?
You talking about the gun?
Nope. The gun was given to the character. This wasn't given. There was a skull hanging in the Predator ship that caused an entire uproar. We didn't have the internet then, but it caused an up. There you go. Bloodsport.
Okay.
Preach Bloodsport. What was that? The alien, the soul of the xenomorph,
Hmm.
which meant that the predator and the xenomorph lived in the same earth, which meant the predator had hunted the xenomorph, and which caused an entire uproar and wanted people wanted aliens versus predator, and they got it.
They
I,
got it twice.
they got it twice. Um,
Most people didn't like either.
so no. Um, so here's the thing that happens. Sometimes it works out, some doesn't. There have been plenty of Easter eggs in MCU shows. James Gunn says that there's an Easter egg for um, Guardians of the Galaxy nobody's ever found yet.
Yeah, I remember him saying that. Yeah.
He says there's one Easter if anybody had found it, but it in 5 or 6 years, and Kevin and James Gunn was like, "Yeah, y'all still hadn't found all of it," and I was like, "Wait, what?" Um, the MCU is littered with them, and I think part of it is we take these Easter eggs because we're fans, and then we want those connections to be realized. But that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. It has happened in the past, but that doesn't mean that's where they're going. And I think we as fans have to calm down and be appreciative that we have these properties. And yes, we would want them to be good, but we also have to realize that these stories are being told may not be told in the way that we envision them in our minds sometimes.
Sure.
And we have
I
to be okay with that.
I think a good example of that is was it Star Trek Into Darkness? Was that the second one of the new ones
Yes. Hmm.
with Benedict Cumberbatch? He was like, "No, I'm not
Hmm.
Khan. I'm not Khan." It
Yep.
turned out he was Khan,
Hmm.
and they were kind of like looking back on it now, hindsight being 2020. It's kind of in a tough spot because like, oh, you guys already figured out the movie. Well, I mean, we can't really change it now.
Well,
So they
see,
still
here's the
kind of wanted
thing.
they kind of wanted you to be surprised about something like they don't want to tell you for sure, and then you're like, well, I already know the twist. It's kind of like, what do you do?
And here's the thing. Don't make it a twist. Here's the thing. If I'm not telling people don't be creative. I'm not telling you to not do a twist if you can pull it off. People had been asking for Khan in the new Kelvin verse because they had rebooted everything. And they said, okay, if you're rebooting everything, who was the biggest villain that the Enterprise had ever faced? Khan. Khan
Hmm.
killed Spock. That was the biggest villain in my opinion, that they had faced, and Star Trek fans had wanted that because here's a new property. They're getting Star Trek back. It's updated. It's cool. It's flashy. Everybody's sexy. Carl Urban is Bones. Zoe Saldana's Uhura. Chris Pine's running around here sleeping with green alien women as Kirk. You know, the lens flare. The Enterprise had never looked better. Now you cast Benedict Cumberbatch, and to me, you didn't have to make him Khan. You could have had a totally different character because here's the thing: the reason why Khan worked so well, one,
Hmm.
uh, uh, Ricardo Montalban um, is a phenomenal actor and was perfect as Khan, and two, they had a previous relationship with Khan in the TV show. So it wasn't like they plucked Khan from obscurity and then dropped him in a movie. Khan had already been here. He had already,
Mhm.
people already knew who Khan was from the Eugenics War. If you had watched any of Star Trek, the Eugenics War is an entire history of Earth that was just terrible. The person who engineered it shows up in this new era of peace and tranquility to fuck shit up. That's
Mhm.
who Khan is. It's hard to get that in one movie when you have not established your lineage. One
Sure.
movie, and then you wanted Khan. That's what the fans wanted. Maybe don't give the fans what they want.
Well, I think we
Just
can
to
agree. Us
just tell
fans
the
don't know everything. Sure.
true, and it's, in other words, just tell a good story. Because here's the thing, I like uh, Into the Darkness because Into the Darkness challenged something I think we as people who like Star Trek have to understand. You may have morals and you may have things that you believe in. That doesn't mean shit if your morals are not tested. And Into the Darkness tested whether or not Starfleet was an idea that we ascribe to, and we are not a weapon, but mongrels. We are not people who are going to start a war with the close we disagree. Into the Darkness to me would have been a great movie if they had just stuck to the idea of, are we who we say we are as Starfleet? That's it. You don't need Khan for that.
Leroy, before you hold on for a second, I want to
Go
hit
ahead.
something for a second. This is a quick little behind the scenes thing. As you can
Mhm.
see, Leroy's on his soapbox preaching these important nerd facts to y'all. And y'all notice that every once in a while, as he hits these high moments, his internet's kind of going out or whatever sometimes, so you don't exactly hear his point, but you're getting the idea of it. If you want to fix that, send us money. So like, comment, and subscribe so we can get money so we can
Yeah.
improve our stats and get better equipment and we can have Leroy saying everything you want to
Tell your
hear
friends, tell your
crystal clear.
family, tell your friends, family, enemies, extraterrestrial life forms,
Yeah.
uh, sea turtles, velociraptors, birds, pigeons, roaches. I don't care who you tell. Just get them to like and comment and subscribe because that helps
Yeah.
us.
And when we say like, comment, subscribe, you're probably seeing us on two different channels. You're seeing us right now on our News 19 Nerds YouTube page. You're seeing us on the We Tryin' Y'all YouTube page. Subscribe to the We Tryin' Y'all, or sorry, We Tryin' on YouTube because we're trying to grow that channel so we can kind of branch
Yep.
off into our own thing. You may
Yeah.
also be seeing us on Twitch too, possibly. We're
Mhm.
streaming there, and eventually we will stream to do the live chat comments count.
They count in the fact of interaction, and they count because we want to hear from you.
Yeah,
I may think that I'm right, but as my wife tells me quite often, I'm wrong quite a bit. And she also believes I can't read. So comment more so that I can prove that I can read.
We talking about me?
No, I told them to like, comment, and subscribe and comment because my wife thinks that I can't read. And the more that you comment, the more I prove that I can read. And then I threw something at you.
I feel like that
She
was
didn't.
abuse, and I didn't want to be a part of it.
She did not disagree with anything I just said. She agreed that
There
she
we,
thinks that I cannot read.
I mean, yeah, but yeah, getting back to this obligatory Stadia joke since Damon Estrada isn't
That
here.
is true. Damien does bring the Stadia jokes.
Yeah, man, Damon, where are you at? I mean, man,
If
it's
there was
finally
ever a
happened.
chance, is there were ever a chance for Damien Estrada to shine?
Yeah, yeah, I would say. I mean, we can actually talk about that later. We'll probably get to that. Google Stadia is no more. Or it will be no more in
Yeah,
January
we can get to
2023.
that.
We can talk about that in a few minutes.
It's so
And the wild ride it's been.
hard to say goodbye
I mean, it's actually been all right. But
to
I'm trying to think of
yesterday.
one thing that was it Ryan Ryan Porter.
Mhm. Brian B, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I appreciate you thinking of us as soon as Stadia died. Mm.
Yeah, it was Ryan Porter. Ryan Porter has kind of been in here talking about, and you talked about it too. They've done a lot with the C-list characters, but they
Mhm.
people want these A-list characters. They want the X-Men. They want the Fantastic Four, just because there are so many stories with them.
Not
Um,
just that, not just that, because if you could do that with C-list characters, imagine what you could do with A-list characters. Because again, I've said this and I about this. I love Captain America. He's one of my favorite characters. I love Thor and Hulk. They were not the butter of the MC of Marvel Comics. They did
mhm,
not. The Avengers bottom tier as far
mhm.
as your comic characters. It has always been the X-Men, Spider-Man. Those have been the ones that have sold. So everybody felt like
David
if you
Cooper
can do
says it.
Iron Man this well, what?
David
Yeah,
Cooper
give
says it.
them and give
We'll
them
we'll
time.
get we'll get to the
Yeah,
A-listers. Give them time to do
yeah,
it right.
give them
I feel
time.
like,
Like,
yeah, we just got
don't
to
rush them.
give them more time. They proven they
Hmm.
have an idea, even if, and I say this all the time, even if you don't like a Marvel thing that they've done, me personally, the only Marvel thing that I haven't liked was probably, in terms of the MCU, was maybe Thor: Dark World, and the
Hmm.
biggest thing for of that was it just felt slow and boring. But I've never hated anything that
Yeah,
Marvel has done. So if they can continue that, that's fine with me. I'll give them all the time they need to figure out what this stuff is, because we want them to get it right. We don't want them to get it wrong.
and here's the
Um,
thing. I would posit. I would posit that Spider-Man has been handled very well, even though Sony owns the rights to it. Marvel has done a very good job with Spider-Man. I think Sony has done the best Spider-Man film of all time in Into the Spider-Verse. But that's my opinion. I'm not. People don't have to agree with it. That's just my opinion. But notice that they did not do that first time out the gate. Spider-Man was later on down the line with Tom
mhm.
Holland. Hell, we had gotten two Thor movies before we got Spider-Man. So I'm not gonna tell you and say what you should like. What I will say is the MCU is something no other franchise is doing, and it's as a black man, I can say that I appreciate what the MCU is doing because no one else is doing it. The MCU is saying you can see yourself in one of these characters. You don't see yourself in
Sure.
Captain America? Guess what? You might be Captain Marvel. You don't see yourself in Miss Marvel? Oh, you could be Ant Man. You don't see yourself in Ant Man? Hawkeye may be the person. No one else is doing that. No one else is giving you a world where all of these characters exist from so many different backgrounds. The MCU
Mhm.
has given us a deaf Native American crime fighter.
Sure.
Echo is going to turn into a hero. Who in the fuck is doing that?
Yeah.
Like, think about it. The MCU gave us Miss Marvel, a Muslim American superhero. Ain't nobody doing that. And that's what I understand that some people like it's not what I want it to be or it's not what I thought it was. That's okay. Everything ain't for you. They're trust me, they're not going to like Captain America is not around right now. We have a new Captain America. Don't worry, Steve Rogers is coming back. Now it might not be Chris
Somebody will
Evans,
come back as
but
Steve
Steve
Rogers.
Rogers ain't go.
Yeah. Some
There you go.
right.
Somebody's going to
Just
come back
like
as Tony Stark. Somebody's.
just like right now there isn't a T'Challa because
Mm-hmm,
of what they want to do in honoring Chadwick Boseman. I
mm-hmm.
think eventually there will be a new T'Challa. They will
Oh
come
yeah,
up with something. They have a
yeah.
multiverse. We will get these people back for sure.
And here's the thing, and
Um,
I understand people have a problem with and want to T'Challa recast because of how important it is. To me, I'm the opposite. T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman meant so much to them that they're not ready for that. Like, think about that for a second. The company is saying we're not ready to recast a character that gave us $1 billion. What company you know is leaving money on? I
mhm,
mean, they're leaving money on the table, not recasting T'Challa
sure.
because they know we have a story to tell. We're going to tell that story. We're going to get to that point. And here's the thing: when people keep saying no T'Challa, no ticket, I understand that. However, comma You're telling the company that gave you Black Panther, we don't want this, what you're doing next. And it's like, you, you didn't even know the Black Panther had never been done before. Trust that they have a plan. Now, when that plan comes out and you don't like it, then hate it once it comes out. Don't hate before, wait to see, and you may be pleasantly surprised. That's all I
Sure.
say.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, Somebody who I haven't seen in the comments, they may comment a lot. I just haven't seen it before. Bloodsport One
Yeah.
was commenting, and they were saying
Welcome.
the MCU.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. If you have been if you've been here before, awesome. If not, welcome. The MCU messed up with end games. They got rid of Thanos too quick. There is no threat in the MCU. You got rid of Thanos after Infinity War. Should have been the after effects of the snap. Bloodsport, I would argue we're seeing some of those after effects in a lot of the TV shows.
Hmm.
They don't necessarily deal with it all the time, but I feel like we're seeing some of those effects. Maybe they could do more. And I think that they're trying to build up to Kang being that new Thanos level threat. We just haven't seen him enough yet.
Hmm.
So I feel like we
And,
got to
and
give him a little more time, personally.
and another thing too is Kang is not as well known as Thanos is. Thanos in the comics, and Kang is a bad guy. I don't want to discredit Kang as a bad guy in Marvel comics, but Kang is a different type of bad guy. When Thanos showed up on in a comic, Thanos came to fuck shit up. This is like Thanos came. Like when Thanos came, you were like, "Golly, man, I just bought this outfit. Like I could die in this. This could be my ghost outfit." When Thanos showed up, somebody was getting their head crushed in, and I think a lot of people when Thanos showed up, they were like, "Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity." They knew what they were getting, and with Kang, they don't know what they're getting. They don't know how does this tie into the larger picture. I think honestly, if Doctor Doom had been introduced, you would not have these problems because they know what Doctor Doom is about. They know the threat Doctor Doom poses. I think if Annihilus was the big bad, I think you wouldn't have had. He's more obscure, but I don't think he would have been as hard to sell as Kang is. But there's a reason they're doing Kang. I don't know what that is. I think Kang may be the door opener to the X Men.
Hmm.
Um, I think the mutants come through that door that Kang opens. Um, but when it back to Feige when we originally talked about, I think part of the problem is we have not treated Ryan Porter. So Annihilus, Kim from Chicago, go Annihilation Conquest. Annihilus comes from the negative zone. He looks like a giant evil grasshopper. I may be saying his name wrong, but he's a big cosmic villain. And he's a big Fantastic Four villain. So if certain villains screams, "I am a villain," King is more or less. I don't want to say aloof, but King is one of those villains who's like, "I do my own thing, and you guys just think I'm a villain." But that doesn't mean I
Maybe he's
am a villain.
maybe he's chaotic neutral.
He is. Annihilus is from the negative zone. Think of Annihilus as an insect plague who wants to devour everything. That's
Sure.
Annihilus. And everything from the negative zone is death.
Okay.
Um, so that's why I said people you'd have said Annihilus. If you'd have said Doctor Doom, people would have been like, "Hey, what? Go on."
Hmm.
Basically, you say Doctor Doom, you get the Idris Elba meme of you keep talking.
Hmm.
Kang is more or less like when you think of villain, think of Loki, which is interesting. He showed up in the Loki show.
Hmm.
Kang is one of those people where you don't know which Kang is there because he time hops so much and there's so many of them. Kang is one of those people where if he shows up, you don't know what you're getting. So that's why I say he's a different villain. Um, but that's why I said it's going to be hard for some people because they don't see where this is going. Um, I think once the Fantastic Four comes out, I
Hmm.
think then you'll realize how big of a threat Kang is because Kang can basically reset the entire. the entire state of reality, and you don't exist.
Hmm.
Like, not death. You don't never existed. Like, kill me, because at least if I die, people will remember me.
Cool.
But if you never existed, your timeline wiped. Like, that's
Right.
worse to me.
I mean, that's kind of isn't that where we are with spoilers for movies now in the MCU, but like Spider-Man, people don't know
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man is Peter Parker type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm curious how they're gonna retcon that or how they're gonna fix that eventually because that's interesting. But anyway, um, who was that? Was that Diesel and IMAX still
Mm-hmm.
on recast T'Challa train? Hey, more power to you, fellas. That's
Yeah,
your opinion.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Diesel. I respect it. I disagree, but I respect like to him that's an important character, and I understand it. I'm not knocking it. I see Black Panther stuff in the store all the time, and I cannot wait for my son to be old enough to understand who Black Panther is and what he
Hmm.
means. Excuse me. And I haven't bought any of it because I know he doesn't know who that is. He knows who Baby Groot is, um, which I will say I did find a Baby Groot for him. So
Okay,
thank
cool.
you, Disney.
Thank you, Disney. Friends of the show, Disney. You're welcome on the show anytime to come talk to us.
Anytime.
Yep, we'll take sponsorships as well.
Hmm.
So we can move off of MCU. We talked about. I mean, I guess our overall thesis is we think the MCU's fine. Kevin Feige's not spread too thin. Let's just see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's give it a little more time. Nothing.
Let's see where it goes. Let's see
Yeah,
where it
let's see where it
goes.
goes. Yeah.
Because I think until he falters, I'm not ready to give up yet. I think there are certain things that happen that I think had to happen, and they may not have been crowd pleasers. And I'm talking Eternals. I'm talking Shang-Chi. I think they may not have made as the splash that other movies have made, but I think they had to be introduced for where they're going to next.
Yeah.
And I think the Eternals were introduced to get us to that cosmic point to bring in Fantastic Four villains to bring in because Fantastic Four is high-minded science for the masses.
Hmm.
So think high-minded science that's I don't say dumbed down but broken down that everybody can understand because it comes from Marvel's first family. And I think you can't do that until you bring in people on that level to where the Fantastic Four can help you understand that they are a family who plays in this world. And that's how good the Fantastic Four is because they walk among gods, celestials. So, in order to understand the gravity of the Fantastic Four, what they're doing is you need to introduce the celestials, which I
Yeah.
think the Eternals did.
Want to do a quick reset here for anybody who is new to the channel. You may be seeing us on the News 19 Nerds channel or the We Tryin' channel. We are trying to grow the We Tryin' YouTube channel, so if you could like, comment, subscribe there. You're going to see some captions roll along the bottom of the screen for places you can find us at. YouTube and Facebook at We Tryin'. Also, We Tryin' Y'all at Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch. You'll probably see our ugly mugs, Leroy and myself's ugly mug there. You know you're in the right spot to like, comment, and subscribe. We can move on to the other topic, the death of Stadia. Phil Harrison announced earlier this, maybe Thursday or Wednesday
Yeah.
or something,
When did I
that
text you?
I don't remember.
Because
Um,
did I text you or did you text me?
you probably texted me. I was like, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
wanted to know if you were okay.
yeah. I mean,
I
again,
gotta check on Shauna.
yeah, yeah.
Shauna
Again,
monitored.
uh, it's a running joke on this thing, right? I'm bad with my money in terms of buying new technology and stuff, whatever. But it is what it is. When I bought Stadia, I was like, yeah, this may not be the best investment, but it's something new. And for the times when the conditions were right, it was cool to be able to stream stuff in 4K,
Mhm.
60 hertz. It's a cool idea. It's just that internet worldwide is probably not where it needs to be to make that a consistent reality and something that people can do. I think a big stumbling block for Stadia is they never got any exclusive games that were only on Stadia
Mhm.
that made you want to get the system.
Mhm.
There were reports that they paid like millions, seven-figure deals, or maybe even eight-figure deals for certain games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Cyberpunk and some other games to be on their service. while people still had to pay full price for the game, even though they had already been out everywhere else. Um, they just ran into a problem of Google has all this money, but they didn't implement the system well.
Now, where do you, here's my question to you. You say
Uh-huh.
implement the system well. What do you think the downfall of Stadia was? You just mentioned the exclusive games. Where do you think Stadia faltered? Do you think they faltered in the sense of trying to make it for everybody? O'Keefe Robinson, you have a good one, man. Or
Good
do you
night,
think,
O'Keefe.
or do you think they made the mistake of not having? You talked like, where do you think the fall? If you were running Stadia, how would you have done it so that it wouldn't
I
fallen?
think one of the things that Google could have done, and they've done this with other products, is they don't say they usually when they bring stuff out, they don't say here it is. They kind of do it in like a testing phase
Mhm.
and go through betas and stuff and say, okay, now it's finally out. But they kind of push Stadia as a fully formed product when it first came out, and I think they would have got more goodwill with people. They're like, this is something we're still developing. You can join now and not say, hey, here are going to be things coming down the line. But what happened was they're like, it's going to be able to do all this stuff. And then a few weeks later, like, well, actually, all that stuff's coming later. It's like, maybe don't promise it now. Maybe reformat your pitch to say, here's what we hope to do 6 months, 7 months down the line. This is what we think is going to work.
Question.
Um,
So
yeah,
basically, they should have set it up like early access for like a game, and like this is the beta, and said, "Hey, you play this. We have other things down the line. You help us make this better." Would that have been a better pitch? Because we all know a pitch, how you phrase things changes how people perceive something. Would that have gotten more people on board?
maybe. Brian Bree brings up a good point, and I'll bring up his comment here just so everybody can see it.
Mhm.
Uh, Biggest problem was they have no new games, and you had to repurchase games most people were already playing. Yeah, that's a big thing. That was a thing I think that happened with a lot of Nintendo consoles when people buy like a Nintendo version of a game that's already been out. The good thing about Nintendo is usually the games aren't necessarily the highest price, and they go down. If it's a non first party game, they go down in price. So you're not paying full price for games that have already been out. But Stadia wanted you to pay the full price, and they couldn't get people on board with the idea of streaming something. I think as a community or just as a culture, people are used to the idea of streaming music and streaming movies more so than they are streaming games in
I'd
terms of
agree with
like
that.
not owning it. Like even if you have a digital copy of a game, you still have it somewhere like on a hard drive saved. But this idea of it's not even there, you're essentially just playing it on a server somewhere is a unique concept. It's a new concept that we don't see a lot of, and hopefully we're going to see more of it. I think Ryan Porter said, it's an idea still in its infancy. We just got to get time for it to be perfected.
Here's a question:
Hmm.
if Google had maybe backdoored and paid people instead of having games that you had to pay full price to be on Google Stadia. What if you bought a new game, right? So
Hmm.
let's say Cyberpunk. You bought Cyberpunk, and you there being a code saying, "Hey, you bought Cyberpunk for 10 extra more dollars or 20 more dollars. You not only can play it here, but you can stream it on Stadia. Here's a code." So it's almost like a digital copy that you because that right now I don't buy a movie if it doesn't come with a digital copy.
Hmm.
I don't. I like unless it's something that I have to own. That's part of my pantheon or my canon. If it don't have a digital copy, I'm not buying it. If it's new.
Hmm.
So what I'm saying is, would that have been the way to go? So if you buy a brand new game, you buy
I think possibly, but I don't think you can jack the price on it. Like you can't put a Stadia tax like pay $10 extra for it. It needs to be the same price as buying it anywhere.
no. I guess what I'm saying is, you talk about the fact of they didn't have AAA games and people already own these games. What I'm saying is a game that comes out, let's say you go to buy Assassin's Creed, right? You
Hmm.
bought Assassin's Creed, maybe there's a code that says for a few extra dollars, not only do you own this game on Steam or on PlayStation or Xbox, you can also own it on this brand new service. In other words, working with the game companies themselves to not have people have to pay full price for the game if they are buying the game anyway. Because here's the thing: if I buy a game on PlayStation and I want to play it on my Steam Deck, I still got to pay for that game.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm saying is
So
you can't make them pay an extra price. It needs to be whatever the price is going to be because people aren't
I
going to
guess,
like
but I
the
guess,
idea of paying extra just to play at other places because that idea isn't built into the way people play games now.
but I guess what I'm saying is I disagree with that to a certain extent because people who are playing Spider-Man on PlayStation, who bought Spider-Man, Sony Spider-Man, are paying for that game again for the opportunity to play it on their computers and decks, and
Yeah, but
it's
it's not.
not
It's not.
reduced.
I don't think it's the same price.
Yeah, it is.
It's $50.
Yes.
Huh. All right, take it back then.
That's what I'm saying. Like Spider-Man on Steam is not. They didn't discount that, and for a while at that price. So let's look up Steam right now. Let's go settings. Let's go Steam. Let's look at Spider-Man. For a
A
while,
lot of people are
Spider-Man.
talking about what Microsoft is doing. Yeah, Microsoft is. I think Microsoft is doing what Stadia should have done in terms of they're giving you so many ways to play their games. They have a streaming option, but they're not saying this is the only way to do it. They're just
Mhm.
trying to get people used to the idea. I think that's what Stadia should have done is get people used to the idea and then be like, okay, now here's the premium version.
Spider-Man remastered. Guess how much it is?
49.
$59.99.
Okay.
It has not dropped in price. For a while, Spider-Man was the number one selling game on Steam.
Okay.
Released August the 12th on Steam. So that's what I'm saying. Like you already have people who could have bought that game for fairly cheap on a console. And Kim from Chicago says PC gamers didn't have a choice. Good point. That's my point. They didn't have a choice. But with Stadia, you give them that choice. You say, "Hey, you can play it here, but you can also play it on the go on this brand new service." Like to me, that would have made sense because that would have gotten people. Because here's the thing: Amazon's getting into streaming, is getting into games and streaming games.
Yeah, but I don't know that anybody like I know of the Luna service. I don't know that anybody's talking about the Luna service on Amazon.
No, but Amazon has enough money that they're not going to give up on it because it's another business venture.
Google has enough money.
But Google has been known to give up on stuff.
Sure.
Go like Google Glasses, Google Plus.
Hmm.
Google will give up on something in a minute.
Yeah. So as bad as the rollout of Stadia has been, I will say this: I'm happy that Phil Harrison said, "Oh yeah, we're also going to give refunds for people who bought games through the service and people who bought hardware." That's kind of cool.
Now,
So
this is the
you're
thing.
kind of getting some of your. I'm happy to get some of my money back.
True, but here's the thing. If they really want to endear people to what they're doing, make those controllers Bluetooth so that they can be played on other systems. So yeah, um, that would be great. That not only with that, um, it would also make it for the waste because now those things are just going to sit on shelves. Um, make it so that people can use those controllers elsewhere, and also they did not do a good job of telling developers they were shutting down Google Stadia because there were a lot of developers who were like, "Wait, what?" Who didn't know. I think that is a bad look as well. Come on, little buddy. There you go. That's right, little buddy. Hey, you okay? Ooh, hold that thought. I'll be
Yeah,
right
I
back,
think the
fellas.
Stadia. Sure, yeah. While Leroy said that, I do think the Stadia controllers are already Bluetooth, so that's something to consider. Oh, they have to issue a Bluetooth update. Okay, I'm sorry. There we go. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of. I don't know if you guys remember. Was it the Ouya? It was a streaming platform. It was a small little device that allowed you to download games. Came with a controller. It was a Kickstarter thing. Again, another console that didn't stand the test of time. But it kind of reminds me of that of this new idea of way to make really third party independent game developers come up with their own games and be on a console. Ouya
Okay, I'm back.
is kind of just sitting in nothing now because nobody's even talking about Ouya.
Yeah, true. But here's the thing that I think Stadia messed. This is where I wonder if Stadia messed up on, because right now we're seeing a resurgence thanks to Nintendo. I'll give Nintendo credit for this. Um, excuse me, guys. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to sneeze and like blow up people's speakers. Um, I'll give Nintendo some credit because I still can't get behind Nintendo a lot of stuff that they do. But Nintendo and this, people are playing handhelds um, at an alarming rate, and there are a lot of handhelds. Logitech just released their $300 handheld that is doing what? Playing stream games. Was Stadia too late?
Wait,
Because
what's doing streaming games?
Logitech, their news. Have you seen their new
Oh,
handheld?
oh, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So here's my question: Was Stadia too late, too early? I'm saying did they if they would have came out now with the access of all these handheld consoles, would it have worked now?
No, because it wasn't a hardware issue. I
No,
mean,
no,
because
no. I'm saying the service. In other words, getting the service on these handhelds.
no, I don't think that's the issue
Okay,
because
I'm throwing it out
yeah,
there.
for me, I think the idea in theory is awesome because you could take Stadia anywhere. There are times where I took my Stadia controller and the Chromecast to hotels and was able to play games there. I was playing like the new Samurai Showdown there, and it worked just fine. So I mean, not I don't need it to be on a portable system for me to like it. I just think it needed a better infrastructure and just having exclusive games. I don't think we, as much as crossplay is awesome and being able to play games wherever, there is something about having, you know, Sony has God of War, Sony has Last of Us, Sony has Horizon series.
Mhm.
Those are exclusive. As awesome as Microsoft is, Halo's fun. Halo Infinite was fine. Nobody's really talking about Halo Infinite anymore. People are like, what's going on with Halo? And in fact, what's the
You're right.
lady?
That's a good point.
The lady, I can't even think of the lady's name now. Let me look her up. But whoever was running 343, she's stepping down. She was stepping down for like personal issues. Hopefully everything's all right with her family or whatever. But just, I mean, yeah, people are trying to figure out what's next for Halo because we don't know. What's next for Gears of War? We're hoping we're going to get a Gear 6 after that awesome cliffhanger for Gears 5.
Got to. You
I'm,
got to.
I'm sure they're working on Gear 6, but the people that were Rod Ferguson, I think, was in charge of the COG, and he left. And I want to say maybe he's at Tencent now with Fortnite. I can't remember where Rod Ferguson
Hey,
is,
y'all better
but
pay attention to what Tencent is doing because they're trying to take over the world.
I bought me some Tencent stock.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah, I got some stock in Tencent. I got some stock in Alibaba. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to say it was Carlos was asking what is Stadia. A couple of you guys had asked what is Stadia. I put in there what Stadia from the actual website themselves. Now here's what's funny.
Hmm.
You can still buy Stadia. Like they hadn't shut the site down. It says
I
try Stadia
mean,
Pro for free for 1 month, and I'm like, so when does it shut down? Because it's if it's still
January
free.
2023.
If it's still free, I'm gonna be honest with you. I may like sign up for it just to play some streaming free games for a month.
Yeah, January 2023 is when it goes away. So
Carlos,
you,
you're right. Tencent owns a lot of stuff.
yeah,
Friend of
yeah,
the show, Tencent.
yeah. Y'all want to sponsor us? Let us know. Um, but
Tencent
yeah,
wastes Tencent wastes more money than it would cost for us to actually be great. Like the money that Tencent probably wastes, we would like revel in it.
oh yeah, for sure. I
Yeah,
think that'll
Camp from
do it though.
Chicago. Yeah, Google hasn't told itself they canceled Stadia. You go click on Stadia right now, and you can sign up for Stadia. Zero trial. Sign up for a month for free. The ultimate membership. I'm looking on the site. There is no indication that they're shutting Stadia down.
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't either because you can still make money off of people.
True, but what I'm saying is there's no like, hey, it's only going to be around for this long.
Well, do we know that there's like not fine print somewhere?
I'm looking on it right now. There is nothing that says they're shutting this thing down.
Yeah. I mean, if it's free, why would you tell people to shut it down? Because if anything, here's the big conspiracy theory plot. Even if Google shuts it down, they still want to get your customer information to sell you to ad companies or whatever. So you get the
That
free
is
version.
true. That is
Yeah,
true.
they're still making money off you some kind of way. So they have no reason to
Here,
tell you.
I guess I feel like this is a great product and a great infrastructure. And they did say the infrastructure is going to stay up for people who want to use it, like for companies who want to, uh, who, why did they not get people who play Fortnite, Destiny, who live in certain areas? Like that's to me should have been the pitch. You want to play Fortnite on the go? This is how you do it. Like I don't understand how they didn't push that type of uh
Well, I think the issue is the technology isn't as great as they want it to be. Like they probably want to, but the issue is I don't think they can tell people, oh yeah, played it well. It's actually not going to work as well as you want on a dedicated
true,
PC.
true. I understand because right now, um hitting back on a topic that we talked about at the beginning, we both work at news stations. One of the biggest things, the new infrastructure deal that the White House and President Biden signed and got passed had fiber and internet and broadband in it because we learned again through the pandemic a lot of these places there are internet zones that does not have access to internet. So when we had the pandemic, the kids had to work from home and parents had to work from home. The internet wasn't great for some of these people. And so the infrastructure deal that happened had in it broadband service.
Hmm.
So I mean you're right. You bring up a very good point.
Um, you got any closing thoughts? It's 10:42. We're gonna shut this down.
My closing thought is uh, I don't know, man. I mean,
Okay.
I had a decent week. You know, the wife and the kids are safe. You know,
Yeah.
um, I'm not saying that COVID isn't a thing, but l- we're learning how to deal with it, so we're able to go about our normal lives, and we're not. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're still losing people with record numbers. I mean,
Hmm.
it's if you look at the numbers, it's a 9/11 every day still. But we are learning to navigate it. We are learning to deal with it better. So that's good. Um, and if you're here, you made it another year. So congrats.
Yeah. Um, thank you to everybody who has been commenting. You guys have really been
Yeah,
commenting a lot this particular Press Play session. Hope we can continue to do that next week. Whether the
yeah,
topic's going to be, really appreciate everybody commenting. New people, old people. Again, if you're seeing us on the News 19 Nerds YouTube channel, please like, comment, and subscribe on the We Tryin' channel. That's the new YouTube channel that we're trying
yep,
to start. We're trying to grow that to kind of venture out and do our own things, get money and all that kind of stuff, and really put it into the channel to make it bigger. It's going to take time, but we're seeing some gains, so that's very cool. So thank you
yeah,
to everybody who's done that. Eventually, we're also going to be streaming to our Facebook page some
yep.
kind of way. We just didn't do it today just because man, we
Didn't
didn't
figure
think
it out
about it
yet.
till late,
Yeah.
but we'll figure it out. Let's see. Brian B. Playing any interesting games?
I
Um,
just started Doom Eternal, and I'm still playing No Man's Sky because that keeps me employed. No
there we
Man's
go.
Sky is like a playing Lexapro. It's just
Okay,
calming.
cool, cool.
Yeah.
What's the name on Facebook? So the Facebook here, I'll put in the caption with. It
Oh,
should
you
just be
got it.
we
Okay.
trying,
It is, but let me see if I can get to the page.
we trying. YouTube, Facebook, right there. Um,
Yep. Oh, you got it. You put it in there.
well, I put the ad handle. I don't know if you pull it up. Can you
Yeah, I'm
do
putting the
a
copy and
screen
paste
share?
it.
Oh,
I'm
that
putting
works
it,
too. Yeah, that
and then I'm
works.
gonna do it.
What have I been playing? So I'm really big into simulation style management games. The
Hmm.
2 Point Company just really not really just released, but maybe a couple months ago. There's 2 Point Campus. It's essentially you running your own university, creating schools, and getting people to go to college and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy, but
Hmm.
I'm enjoying that. That's what I've been playing, and I finished Death's Door, which is a lot of fun. I want to get back into
Hmm.
Tunic, and I will
A lot of
probably
people love
start.
that game.
It's
You made
fun.
me want to play it.
I just fell off because stuff happens, and I just never got back to
Mhm.
it.
Uh,
Um,
so yeah,
yeah.
guys, this is what the page looks like, our Facebook page. I finally figured out, because again, I'm old and I don't know how all this stuff works. I finally linked the Facebook page and the Instagram page because they're the same company. And so
Ah,
we need to be better about posting stuff on Instagram. One of the things I guess some of the behind the scenes stuff I can tell you, me and Michael talked about, we're going to try to record. So we're going to try to still do the streams as much as possible. We're also going to start doing some, I don't want to say shows, where like we talk about different topics. One of the things that we got in the works is like doing, like picking a topic that we might have done a press play, but it's evergreen, as it says, and so we're going to talk about it and then just put the video up. You guys watch it, comment, and then you tell us what other topics you want us to see or you want to see from us discuss, and we'll probably do a press play, or maybe we'll have a video of it. um, I have bought a ton of action figures to my wife's displeasure. I'm trying to get together enough equipment to do reviews so that you guys can see what I bought. And because I love action figures, but action figures have never been better than they are right now. If you look, this weekend was was PulseCon, Hasbro Pulse's convention. It was 2 days. Hasbro Pulse owns the rights to Transformers, GI Joe, Marvel Legends, uh, Power Rangers. Indiana Jones just dropped a line of toys. They own the rights to that. They used to own Fortnite. I'm not sure. Ken from Chicago. Uh,
hey, we ain't doing this. We shutting this down. We ain't about to
oh,
start
my
another
bad.
20-minute
Um,
conversation.
so yeah, the
Trying to go
Serpentor,
get some
yes.
food.
Bloodsport 1, that Serpentor looks amazing. It's sold out. It might be a channel exclusive, but that Serpentor looks great. So go check it out. So I want to do more toy reviews and um, more of those. I got a couple of things that I like, toys that action figures that I was excited about. So that's what's in the pipeline. That's the behind the scenes. I'm working on it so that I want to do a good job so you can hear and see the action figures. Hey, good. Hey,
Somebody asked
Bloodsport
us.
1. I want that Serpentor.
Somebody asked us if we saw the Last of Us teaser trailer. We did.
We
Our
did.
reaction. You can go to our We Trying YouTube
Yep.
page and see it up there. But yeah, we did see it.
Yep.
It looks good. Looks very good.
Yep.
Yep. If I let Leroy continue to talk, he will talk forever. But I want to go
Hmm.
get some food, so I'm leaving.
All right.
So we out.
All right, guys. Appreciate
Hopefully we'll see
everybody
y'all
being
next week.
here. Yep.
Out.
We're out. Peace. Deuces.